The first prediction for today's NBA games is for the game between the Sacramento Kings and San Antonio Spurs. When I break down this matchup between the Sacramento Kings and the San Antonio Spurs, I see two teams living in completely different realities right now. The Spurs have momentum, structure, and a growing sense of identity built around Victor Wembanyama, who keeps showing why his ceiling might be higher than anyone expected. Even with those two tight losses to Golden State, San Antonio has looked sharp at home. They defend with purpose, they play with rhythm, and they've got the crowd behind them. Sacramento, they're walking into this one bruised. The losing streak is real, the defensive breakdowns are constant, and the fourth quarter collapses are becoming predictable. They don't sustain their good stretches, and the scoreboard has punished them for it. But even inside this rough patch, they still have players who can flip a game on its head. Domantas Sabonis is coming off a dominant night. Russell Westbrook is still stuffing the box score, and Zach LaVine can heat up in a blink. But here's the key for me, and this is where everything shifts. In the last 10 games between these two teams, the Kings have won 7. Not 1 or 2. 7. No matter what form they're in, Sacramento somehow finds a spark whenever they face San Antonio. And this isn't guesswork, it's a pattern. I've watched these matchups for years, and even when the Kings look like they're drifting, they come into this specific pairing with a different edge. They compete harder, they execute better, and they refuse to let the game break open early. San Antonio has the cleaner numbers, no doubt. They shoot better, defend better, and right now they look more confident. But matchups matter in basketball. Some teams simply match up well against others, and Sacramento has consistently caused problems for the Spurs, even when expectations were low. I know the Kings haven't been covering spreads lately. I know the losses have been ugly, and I know the public is ready to dump every argument on the table to fade Sacramento tonight. But I'm letting the head-to-head rhythm guide me here. When a team wins 7 of the last 10 against the same opponent, I pay attention. That's not luck, that's matchup advantage. So yes, this pick isn't safe. Yes, it goes against the trends. And yes, the Kings are far from a sure thing. But I'm trusting what I've seen over years of watching these two teams go at each other. When they meet, Sacramento shows up, even in bad seasons. I'm taking the Sacramento Kings to cover the 8.5-point spread on the road in San Antonio. This isn't about trusting the Kings long term. It's about trusting the matchup tonight. They've taken 7 of the last 10 head-to-head, and I expect them to battle long enough to stay inside that number. I'm riding with them. Today's second prediction is for the game between the Orlando Magic and the Houston Rockets. When I look at this matchup between the Magic and the Rockets, the first thing I ask myself is simple. Can Orlando drag Houston into the kind of slow, grinded-out game that takes all the oxygen out of the Rockets' transition attack? Because if they can't do that, this one turns into a long night for the visitors. Orlando has been scrapping lately. I'll give them that. They've shown better discipline in the half court. They've closed tight games with real composure, and their defensive energy has been sharp during this recent stretch. Franz Wagner has been carrying a big scoring load. Desmond Bane gives them shot-making when he's in rhythm, and the group has bought into a defensive mindset that keeps them competitive most nights. But the moment Paolo Banchero is out of the picture, everything changes. You take away his size, his ability to bully mismatches, his pressure at the rim, and suddenly Orlando is asking role players to shoulder primary scoring duties on the road. That's a tough ask against any opponent, but it's a brutal one against this Houston team. The Rockets are rolling, and I mean rolling in a way that feels sustainable. When a team plays at one of the slowest tempos in the league, yet still lights teams up for huge scoring nights, that tells me the offense is layered and mature. They don't need chaos to get buckets. They don't need run-and-gun possessions. They just line up, flow through their sets, and let their talent do the talking. Kevin Durant fits like he's been here for a decade. Mid-post touches, self-created jumpers, rhythm threes, whatever the defense gives him. Alperen Sengun has taken another big leap, scoring, glass work, and playmaking from the elbows like a seasoned orchestrator. Jabari Smith Jr. stretches the floor and defends multiple spots. Amen Thompson plays downhill without fear, and the rest of the rotation fills their roles cleanly. What really jumps off the page for me is the way Houston handles physicality. They rebound like a team that understands every possession matters, and they close quarters like a group that knows exactly where to attack. That's where I start to see the separation in this matchup. Orlando can defend, yes, but without Banchero, they simply don't have enough offensive firepower to punch back possession after possession if Houston starts landing blows. And on the road, against a team that's been running opponents out of the gym in this building, that's not a recipe I feel great about backing. Another layer here, Houston doesn't get sped up. Even if Orlando tries to drag this into a defensive slugfest, the Rockets can match that tempo. They've shown all year they can win slow or win fast, and those are the teams that are the most dangerous. Meanwhile, Orlando's margin for error completely disappears when they lose their go-to scorer and are forced to lean on ball movement instead of individual creation. So when I stack all of this together, the injuries, the matchups, the shot-making gaps, the offensive ceilings, the pace control, it leads me straight to the same place every time. My prediction is that Houston wins this game and covers the 7-point spread, and I'm also taking the total to stay under 230.5 points. I think Orlando's best hope is to suffocate the tempo and make this ugly, but even then, I see Houston's depth, discipline, and firepower being too much. I'm riding with the Rockets to take care of business at home. The third prediction for today is for the game between the Hawks and the Suns. Alright, guys, let's talk about this matchup in Phoenix, because this one is quietly one of the better games on the board. We've got the Atlanta Hawks rolling into the Mortgage Matchup Center, both teams in form, both teams confident, and the line is giving me a short number with the home side. That is exactly the kind of spot I like to attack. The Suns come into this one locked in. After starting the year slowly, they completely flipped the switch. They have taken 7 of their last 8 and are on a 5-game heater, and it is not just empty wins. They are balanced on both ends. Offensively, they are putting up around 118 points per night on efficient shooting, but what really jumps out to me is the way they are defending. Over this recent stretch, they have been clamping teams, keeping opponents in check, and controlling the tempo in their own building. That blowout against the Pacers said a lot to me. Winning by 35 at home is not just a good night, it is a statement. Devin Booker is playing like the best player on the floor in almost every game. He is pouring in close to 30 a night, doing it efficiently, and also running the offense with 7 assists per game in this recent run. Dillon Brooks has stepped into that second scoring role and is giving them over 20 per game, being aggressive, hunting his shot, and forcing defenses to respect that second option. Even the bench is contributing, with guys coming in, blocking shots, finishing around the rim, and keeping the energy high. The Suns are also quietly putting together a very real home edge again. The trends back it up. The home team has taken the large majority of recent meetings between these two, and Phoenix has been cashing tickets in this building, covering the number game after game. When the Suns are dialed in defensively at home, they become a very tough team to knock off, especially for opponents traveling across conferences. Now, I am not sleeping in Atlanta. The Hawks are playing some of their best ball of the season. They have won 4 straight, and they have been getting it done even without Trae Young. That is a huge part of the story. Instead of collapsing when their star guard went down, they actually tightened up. Jalen Johnson has turned into a real problem, stuffing the stat sheet with scoring, rebounding, and playmaking. He is putting up over 20 points, grabbing close to double-digit boards, and creating for teammates. Onyeka Okongwu just dropped a monster line with 30-plus points and double-digit rebounds, and the Hawks as a group are moving the ball, sitting at around 30 assists per game. Defensively, Atlanta is much better than people think. Their numbers show a strong defensive rating, and in that win over Utah, they really locked in during winning time, holding the Jazz to 19 points in the fourth quarter. That tells me this group can get stops when they need them. They also travel well. They have been winning and covering on the road against Western Conference teams, and that is never easy. But now comes the key question for me as a bettor. Where's the edge with this specific number in this specific spot? I have 2 hot teams, both missing an important guard. The difference to me is how stable Phoenix looks right now in their own gym. The Suns are not just winning, they are winning with a margin. They are sharing the ball, defending, and their stars are comfortable in their roles. The trends scream home court advantage in this matchup, and historically, the home side in this series has been the right side against the spread. Atlanta's surge is real, but without Trae Young, they still have stretches where the offense can stall, especially in tougher environments. If Phoenix slows them down, keeps them out of transition, and forces them into half-court sets, I trust the Suns' defense and star power a little more over 48 minutes. So, when I put it all together, current form, home edge, the way Booker is dictating the game, and the way Phoenix has been rewarding backers in this building, I know where I want to be. My prediction is that the Phoenix Suns cover the 2-point spread against the Hawks. I am riding with the Suns at home, and my money is on Phoenix to win this one by more than a single possession. Last today's prediction is for the game between the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz. When I step back and look at everything happening with these two teams right now, the story that keeps jumping off the page for me is pace. Neither of these squads is defending at a level that can keep the scoreboard from heating up, and both play their best basketball when the game starts to loosen up and turn into a rhythm battle. Chicago, when Giddey is healthy, is a team that naturally pushes the ball. The tempo goes up, the decision-making gets quicker, and you can see the whole offense becoming more connected. Utah, especially at home, doesn't hesitate to fire early in the shot clock. They space the floor, they shoot in volume, and when Markkanen gets going, the entire game shifts into high gear. And honestly, when I stack their recent tendencies side by side, it almost feels like they're inviting each other into a shootout. Chicago has allowed a ton of points on the road, especially against Western teams, and their transition defense has been one of their biggest issues during this losing streak. Utah, meanwhile, is playing in a way that almost guarantees long possessions don't exist. They turn the ball over, they attack quickly, and they give opponents plenty of opportunities to run back at them. This is exactly the kind of matchup where the pace takes control of the game, and once it happens, it rarely slows down. The Bulls have been putting up big scoring numbers, even in losses, and the Jazz have been giving up huge totals while still managing to hang on offensively themselves. You take two teams with shaky defensive discipline, strong scoring options, questionable rotations, and shorter rest between games, and what you'll usually get is a game that climbs past the typical thresholds. So even though I'm not choosing a winner in this matchup, and yes, deep down I do believe Chicago has a slightly better chance, that's not where my focus is tonight. I'm reading the flow, the momentum, and the way these two teams match up stylistically. Everything points to a game that stretches out, opens up, and becomes one of those track meet nights where both sides hit stretches of effortless scoring. My prediction is this. I'm playing the total points to suppress 239. I expect this game to break wide open. I expect long offensive runs on both ends, and I expect the scoring to go above that number. That's my pick for the night. That's where my money goes, and that's the call I'm riding with.